Hey everybody, welcome to DFW's Real Estate Best, where we are hearing from the best in real estate here in DFW. And I'm super excited for you guys watching or listening in through Spotify, iTunes, and our other channels to the two guests I have on today's show. We're going to be talking a lot about the entrepreneurial mindset and what it takes to be a successful entrepreneur. And so you're not going to want to miss out hearing from both of the guests, but I want to do a shout out to a fellow entrepreneur here, Lendon, who is the creator and founder behind The Difference. And that's that platform through where we do this live stream and podcast through. He provides digital branding and solutions for entrepreneurs, both big businesses, small businesses, everything in between. And he's going to be sharing more about that at the end of the show. But we're super thankful to have our podcast through Lendon's business called The Difference. And so anyways, I want to invite on Brian Michelizzi. I knew I was going to mess that up, Brian.
I've heard it all.
Oh my goodness. Brian Michelizzi. Oh my goodness.
It's probably pronounced Michelizzi in Sicily, but it's been Americanized.
Oh my word. So. I knew it. And I was speaking to him the other day and I said, now help me with your last name. Apparently I should have practiced a little bit more before the show today. But anyway, yeah, awesome to have you on. You are the founder and broker of, let's see if I can get it this time, Michelizzi Real Estate. Am I getting it?
Yeah, that's good. That's good. That's good.
In all fairness, my name gets botched all the time. I get Rachel, Rachelle, all sorts of things. But anyway, so we have something in common there. Yeah. But great to have you on. You also are a part of our top 500 for Dallas Real Producers. And we actually just met the other week, wasn't it?
It was about a week or two ago.
Yeah. And so it was amazing hearing your story. And funny enough, while we were talking and I was sharing with you about the community and just, obviously the incredible agents that are in that top 1% to 2% like yourself, a part of Dallas Real Producers, this exclusive community for the cream of the crop in real estate here. I was also sharing with you about some of our RP vetted businesses who are a part of this community because they've been nominated by the highest producing agents such as yourself. And so there is just this neat curated list that's been put together by your peers. And so we were also talking about that. And within our conversation, you had said that you wanted to find out more about Lendon, who hosts The Difference. That's and right. So obviously you're getting up and close and personal with Lendon here being on the show, but you also had expressed the need to connect with a good mover. And, I was sharing with you about Tyler Edwards with Stonebriar Moving, and guess who we're also having on the show as I share with you today, Tyler Edwards, as he likes to call himself, the moving extraordinaire, right, Tyler?
Yes.
Moving extraordinaire founder and owner of Stonebriar Moving Services. And so this
Welcome, Tyler.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Now, I was saying to Brian the other day, we were talking about the ESPYs, and I said, listen, you could totally be up for the Rise and Grind Award. Seriously.
I laughed when you said that. There's definitely some truth to it.
Yeah, no, there is a lot of truth hearing your story and knowing Tyler's story and how you work, Tyler. I also think that you could be nominated for the Rise and Grind Award as well.
Wait. You got my competition on? Is that what happened? No.
So yeah, there you go. But truly, those of you that are watching or listening, as you hear from both Brian and Tyler, I know you're going to think the same. These two are some of the hardest workers, no joke, within the Dallas Real Producers community. Knowing them both, hearing their stories, they got a lot to say. And so just excited to dive in. So Brian, let's dive into your story first. Where did this entrepreneur mindset start?
I guess it's something that's probably a little innate. I feel like I've always kind of been more entrepreneurial, and I think more of wanting to sort of create my own destiny, have control over what I did and when. And yeah, I'm always, I think it really kind of grew more, probably post college. I had, I know everyone always talks about Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki and Think and Grow Rich, a few other books that really had me, or my allergies are terrible, so everyone's gonna have to bear with me. But, you know, getting into that, you know, having passive income and building a business and sort of, like I said, controlling your destiny. So, you know, I don't think there's a specific point. I feel like, you know, I've always kind of been wired that way, but, you know, experiences, you know, kind of move it in a certain direction.
Yeah. Yeah. Now you didn't, you know, intend to become a real estate agent. As you shared with me, it just sort of happened, right?
It kind of did. Yeah. I was, well, I grew up in the Northeast, Nashua, New Hampshire, suburbs of Boston, about 40 minutes outside. And I went to University of Rhode Island for pharmacy school. I'm grateful my family is, you know, focused on secondary education, getting, you know, stable careers, jobs, which, as we talk about being an entrepreneur, is kind of in conflict a little bit. But yeah, I got a degree in pharmacy from University of Rhode Island. moved down south to Dallas with some friends, and you know, I never really thought like, oh, I'm going to be a real estate agent, but talking about the passive income. I got my first investment property in 2004, I believe. And I knew I was going to buy and sell more properties. So I ended up getting my real estate license because I knew, you know, like I said, I was going to buy and sell more property.
Right.
And then I started helping friends and coworkers. And then next thing you know, I kind of grew a business. So
right.
I went part-time. I was a pharmacist at Children's for a long time. So I went part-time there about 2015, 16, opened my brokerage. And then just somewhat recently retired as a pharmacist. So
that's amazing. I remember when you were sharing, I'm like, wait a second, you just stopped being a pharmacist, a full-time pharmacist?
Yeah, it goes back
to real estate and being a broker and having a team. I'm like,
it goes back to the rise and grind, right? Like,
yeah.
How did you manage?
Not very good work-life balance. So that's part of, you know, trying to work on controlling the business and not let the business control you. I think, you know, most entrepreneurs, small business owners go through this.
Yeah, I think that certainly is a part of the growing pains, at least from what I hear, talking to different entrepreneurs, different people like yourself who never set out to be a real estate agent, but it just sort of happened. It's just a finding that balance and how do you do that? And so Tyler,
maybe I was gonna say maybe Tyler's gonna give me the answer today.
Yeah. So Tyler, what about you? Are you born with the entrepreneurial mindset, or does it develop and grow over time? What was your path to?
Yeah, I didn't really have much of an option. Like my parents aren't, they didn't go to college. You know, they're not super sharp. I love them, but they're just not. This is not the way my family's set up. I don't think anybody in my family. My sister went to college to be a nurse recently. She's in her late 30s. Ever since I was young, I just always wanted to make money. And I know that my parents didn't have any, and I knew that it wasn't going to be by working a job. So I just figured out you had to hustle, I guess. You know, you had to like get something and sell it to someone else or do a service or however it worked out. So I've always known this is what I was going to do. You know, and I didn't sit still in school very well. I don't like to listen. I've had to learn that over time, that you have to be a good listener as I've matured. My wife's helped me with that. But other than that, no, I mean, I just like to do stuff and build things. So it's a little different for me.
Yeah. And so the path to finding yourself owning a moving company, I remember you sharing with me you were 19 living on a guy's couch for a year. Talk about that.
I just didn't have any money. And I remember meeting this old dude when I was like maybe 18 or 19. And he said, if you ever needed a job, you can come to my house in San Antonio, live on my couch. And so about maybe 6 months later, I found myself with like a jar of change. I don't know, I had like $40 and I had an old Mitsubishi Galant. And I called him and said, is that offer still good? So sure enough, I put all that change and floated down into town and ended up living on his couch for about a year. And just working 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, doing moving jobs. But more than that, he told me everything about business. You know, everything's a business. Mm-hmm. Everything's a business. Everything is like 3 or 4 businesses. Everything you see, there's 3 or 4 businesses for that thing. And I just took it all in. Like I just loved Loved it, every bit of it. And so then from there, I moved back to Dallas. I ended up renting a Penske truck and connecting with some brokers, some nationwide brokers. And I ended up traveling in the moving truck and sleeping in that truck for about another year, moving motorcycles, homes. And I just kind of winged it. And it was cool. And I got to see the country. And then from there, I mean, it was up and down for the next 3 or 4 years. I met my wife around 22, 23. And I did sales, and then I did odd jobs. And then eventually we bought a truck, 2011, I think. Now we have 9 trucks and a van. We rent about between 25 and 40 guys every day. I have a main office here in Richardson, and then we have an office in Frisco and North Richland Hills, and small office downtown. We don't really go there, but it's there for Google. We do almost 200 moves a week sometimes.
Amazing.
Just took a while, and I just kept at it. So
would you say that's a key to being a successful entrepreneur? As you said here, like, obviously there were moments, I'm sure, where perhaps there was discouragement or extremely long days, long nights. But like you said, you just kept going at it. You didn't give up.
I never wanted to give up, but it sucks a lot. And it's sad whenever like you put everything you have into something and then you go 5 steps forward and you go 10 steps back, and it happens often. It's happened recently. I mean, it happens, but you can never stop. Like even now, there's a lot of people that depend on me. There's a lot of people that have been here for years and years working here, and it's just what they know. So they come to work, they know they make X amount of money a week, $800 to $1,500, and they're counting on that money. Some of you guys get houses, and cars, and they have wives and they have babies, and while they're working here. And so I don't know, I'm sure they could always find another job, but either way, I have a team and I owe it to them to never stop going forward. So I don't know if that answers the questions or not.
No, that totally does. Like that sense of responsibility. And I know, Brian, that's something that you expressed even when we talked and met, just that sense of responsibility for the people that you care for and the clients that you serve. I think that's huge. Definitely. A huge thing that helps you continue to push forward. What else would you say is a key in those moments? Because I'm sure there's people listening right now that, are hustling. They're in that beginning where perhaps they might be couch surfing. They might be living on a truck or in their office, or maybe their office is their home. What would you say in those moments for them to hold on to?
Just keep going, because you never know, you never remember where, it's just, you know where you are now. But I know that when you go years and years and you look back, you kind of set yourself new plateaus, which is neat. Because then there's a new normal where I was on $1 million a year or $2 million a year. And then now I'm like, man, I remember when $100,000 a year was a lot. And so I guess, I don't know, just keep going. And just it's the hard part is now, but it gets a little bit easier, especially if you have more money. Things get easier, but it takes time. Nothing good is built quickly, and nothing that's going to last is built quickly. So just don't expect to get rich overnight. You have to do the work. You have to do the work, and it's one brick at a time. It's eventually you have help, and you can lay a few more bricks a little faster. But I mean, it's still the same. You still have to do each day you can't skip any steps, I think.
Right. That's huge. Brian, what would you say?
Yeah, I'm going to piggyback on that for sure. Just, keep moving forward. I think, as a society, we probably romanticize, the Jeff Bezos and the Bill Gates and think that, we see where they're at and we don't realize, the number of hours and years they spent to build those businesses. True. And, I'm sure they're working 90, 100-hour, work weeks or more and sacrificing in other areas of their life to build the business. So I think, just keep moving forward. And I also feel like we expect, to get to our achievements that we're not going to have as many roadblocks as most people will. So I would say just one foot in front of the other, just keep moving forward. And, there's no matter what business, no matter what you're doing, there's going to be obstacles, and you've just got to figure out how to problem solve and get through those obstacles and keep moving forward.
Right. Now, one thing I heard from you, Tyler, is kind of the essence of don't do it alone. That if you as an entrepreneur have a question, reach out to that person that you respect, send them a message. Don't be shy. Like I loved what you were sharing there. And it sounds like that's been a big part of your journey, even from the beginning. That gentleman who you said you lived on his couch for a year and he just taught you about business.
For the first many years, probably 3 or 4 or 5 years, I called him every couple of days. And even once I got my wife, she was like, why do you talk to this guy so much? And I just wanted to talk to him, because I was like, what do I do? This is what happened with my day. Can you believe this happened? Does this ever happen to you? And he would always be like, this is what you do. Da, 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 da. Sometimes he'd be short, but I mean, I don't know. I appreciate that. And it's weird because I never thought I was anybody influential or anything, but like over the last couple of years, I've had several guys that I respect call me or like Facebook message me, and they would be like, hey, da da da, what advice, when I was like, oh, hey, what's up? And then I'll just tell them, and they'd be like, my wife's like, why do you tell people how to do what you did? And I was like, I don't know. She's like, I guess I should send them a bill afterwards, but it's whatever, and I just get excited to, even some guys that have worked here, there's a couple guys that went on, and I got off the phone with one a couple days ago. And he just asked me advice, and they're starting their own business, their own moving companies, But I'm like, they gave me 5, 6, 7 years of their life. The least I can do is give them a couple hours here and a couple hours there, even if it's telling them exactly what to do. Which I'm like, there's no competition because you can't replace the original, right? But even then, so I want to, you build other people up, and you're only going to go up. I mean, there's no reason to. There's no secret. They can figure it out. If they do enough research, why not just tell them? Makes me feel good to share knowledge with people. I don't know.
No, that's huge. That's huge. And that's obviously been a big part of your journey. So to be able to give back, I'm sure that feels good. You're in that place to, give back to others. Brian, it sounds like for you that those books that you're referring to, I know you mentioned Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and there was another book that you said was influential.
Think and Grow Rich. Napoleon Hill, I think, is the author of that one.
Yeah.
There's tons of other books. Not to date myself, but podcasts weren't around back then, and you had to get hard or soft cover books. But I feel like those are some basic readings that a lot of other entrepreneurs and real estate investors that would cite as some of the things that help them change their perspective on passive income and building businesses and things along those lines.
Sure. I think that certainly is a huge key to being a successful entrepreneur, is not thinking that you have to know it all or you have to try to figure it out all the steps yourself, but reach out to those around you, like Tyler has done, or go to some good books, or today podcast.
For sure. Having a mentor in the space, like Tyler mentioned, is very important. And now we're on the other side of it, where we're helping other people, and it's nice to kind of pay it forward to know there's other people that are younger entrepreneurs that are trying to build businesses and do different things. I chuckled when Tyler mentioned his wife said that he should charge for his time. My girlfriend Mona mentions that all the time. She's like, you were just on the phone for 30 minutes, give him all this information. But like I said, that's part of it, giving it back and sort of the paying it forward.
Right. I always, when I think about that, I think of the Dead Sea in Israel. We were speaking about traveling on backstage here before the show started. Been to Israel several times, and I remember learning about the Dead Sea, and I've literally bobbed in it, where you just float no matter where you are, and it's dead because it doesn't give out. The water source just stays. It doesn't give out like other water sources. And I remember that just being such a picture for me of the importance of giving from what you've learned, from where you've grown, and that truly that brings life. And so anyway, as you both were sharing, that picture was coming to my mind again from Israel there. But I want to talk about the one brick at a time, Tyler, that you were talking about. You know, to be successful, as you said, as you both have said, you have to put in the hard work, you have to put in the time. You know, what sort of expectation, I know that's something you're passionate about, Brian, as well, setting a realistic expectation in business. What is the expectation for the time, the hard work that people who want to be entrepreneurs, start their own business should have? I know you said, Tyler, something that stuck out to me, that when you work for yourself, you're never not working. Yeah, talk about that.
Well, you're always working. I mean, there's really no other way to say it. You just need to always be on. You're always on. You do sacrifice other things in your life, especially for the first couple of years, maybe the first many years. For me, it was up until recently, but I like to work. It's just my thing. My wife had to pull me back and say, you know, you have to dedicate X amount of time because, you know, me and the kids are not seeing you as much. And so I was like, oh, I didn't know anybody needed me. She's like, no, we definitely do. But I'm always on, you know, and I just hired my nephew. He's college educated. I hired him in March. And now he does about 90% of the jobs that I did for 10 years. And so, which really cool, because now I'm bored sometimes. And I get sleepy, and I just want to take naps. And
Oh boy.
And, I don't like being bored. But definitely I've been able to spend more time with the kids and focus, and they're really good at football. And I didn't even know they're like really good at football. And all the other dads are like, oh yeah, he does all these plays. And I was like, I'm at the games and I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. Cause I've never been big on sports cause I haven't had time to sit still and watch sports. But then again, I've never wanted to. I don't know, man. I know that when you first start a business, you just need to be willing to sacrifice other things. If you want a business that's going to push you forward, and maybe you'll have to circle back. There is such a thing as balance. But if you want to be a successful business owner, you're going to have to sacrifice some things, especially for the first few years, and work every day.
The freedom that you can have later
on. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Now, I'm sure that takes some organization and processes in building a business, which I know, Brian, that's something that you have been really big on. Why don't you share about that?
Yeah. Well, first I want to say I've changed my goals. My goals now are to be able to take naps during the day. The tolerance level, that sounds pretty good. It was on my list before, but I think it's, especially in the real estate world, kind of, you know, first, I think to run any business, you have to have some level of organization. If you yourself are not organized, then I think, you know, you need to bring in someone, and that's part of being a successful business owner, is knowing, you know, what your strengths are,
that's good,
what your weaknesses are, and sort of how to get the right people for those, you know, for those gaps. But as far as processes, like, you know, for me, a lot of it is, you know, real estate has become very mobile. So having processes in place and learning how to, you know, have my transaction management platform completely mobile, where if I need to access a document, say from, you know, a year ago or something, you know, I can pull it up from my phone pretty quick. Sort of streamlining, you know, there's always variables in real estate transactions, but, you know, the sort of main, you know, deal has a lot of similarities and structure to it.
Sure.
So it's sort of, you know, from a clerical standpoint, how to streamline that, and you know, just have, like I said, processes in place.
So to some aspiring, perhaps real estate agents listening, or perhaps those that are not in the top 500 yet, but it is on their vision board to be a part of Dallas Real Producers, that top 1% to 2%, what are perhaps 2 or 3 top processes you would say, you know, get this right?
Well, one, I think it's knowing the transaction from start to close. I think this is where, you know, I add a lot of value. Is it's my perfectionism, got to know everything about everything. So, you know, I kind of learn about the different facets of the process. Part of that is sort of knowing where things sometimes go sideways, and a lot of this just comes with experience and knowing how to like tiptoe, your way around things, and knowing, okay, if we do this, like, it could cause this. And so I think really knowing, the different facets of the real estate process. I think, like I said, organization, using some type of CRM or management software. I mean, most people use electronic signatures nowadays, but staying organized, because early in the business, when you're not selling that much, you don't really have to be that organized, right? But then as your business starts to grow, that's where I think the organization and the processes, are much more necessary to keep things, on track. And I don't know if that's 2 or 3.
Somewhere around there. No, that's
yeah.
good. That's good. And Tyler, I think about the organization, the processes you have in place that Stonebriar Moving continues to go forward with excellence.
Yeah.
And I remember you sharing that with me, even just some of the training that you still do one-on-one with your guys that I know has led to the huge success that you're having today.
Well, you definitely got to be hands-on. And I know that in the beginning, so some of the guys a lot of them have moved on now. But for the first many years, I was on the trucks, from about 2012 until like 2016, 2017, I was on the trucks. But all the guys there was about 8 guys that carried me through up until about a year ago. And those were our core guys. And then, I worked alongside them for years. And so I pretty much trained all them and the right way to do it, the right way to speak to people. And now recently we're building out new training programs, because it's different. It's different now. We're becoming more of a bigger entity. So we're actually figuring all that out right now. We're going through a lot of growth right now, in terms of scale. I didn't plan for, which is neat. But I guess it just happens over time. But we're still very much, we have rules, we have protocols. And I've watched a lot of documentaries on like airports and silly things, but like you have to direct people, because sometimes people, even the simplest of people, are good people, but like they need simple direction. And I forget sometimes, I guess, when you get up here, that the people down here they're just like, hey, tell me what to do and I'll do it. And you're like, you don't know that already. And so I'm like, okay, do this. And they're like, okay, I'll do that. So it's actually not that complicated, but I guess it's just the matter of doing it. You need to build out training for people, just like if I was Pizza Hut or something, like this is how you cook the pizza. Don't cook it too long. So
this temperature, this time, this is what the press should look like. Yeah,
it's becoming a little different now, and it's foreign to me, because I thought I'd always have those guys, but I guess they just got too smart to work for me. And it's not a bad thing, like I said, but it's different, definitely different now.
Well, I think that speaks to that you've empowered them to a certain level through your training.
Yeah.
That, again, they're moving on to that next step in their journey.
And I love it. I want nothing more, especially guys that, they deserve it. They don't need to be kept at 50 or 60 grand a year. They can go on and make 200 grand a year. That's, there's a lot of different responsibilities that come with that, because then they have to have people underneath them and so on. And so then that's all the questions they now have for me. They're like, what do I do about this and that? So it's neat to get those phone calls. Yeah,
that's great. Well, I certainly have a lot of respect just hearing about Stonebriar Moving and how you've been so hands-on training the guys. And I have no doubt that you're going to figure out in this next chapter what that training looks like, because obviously, to be doing the business you're doing today, you've done something right.
I think so. Yeah. And it's just a new thing I'll figure out. So it's exciting.
Of course. Now, talk about being an entrepreneur, both of you, partnering with the right people. How important is that? I know, Brian, when we had met, we were talking about that. We were talking about different businesses in the real estate sphere that you respect, you think should perhaps be a part of Dallas Real Producers and this community of the cream of the crop in real estate, both agents and businesses. And I, of course, was sharing about different businesses that I felt would just help take your business to the next level. One of those being Tyler Edwards right here with Stonebriar Moving. But how important, you not only are an agent, you're a broker. And so you have that influence to speak to your agents of different businesses they should be partnering. How key is that, being an entrepreneur?
I think it's incredibly important, not just in the real estate space, but anywhere. I always say you are who you surround yourself with, but within the real estate transaction, there's just so many pieces that I think people don't really know all of the pieces. There's so many different people and personalities involved in the transaction. So I think it's really important, because all you need is one person who doesn't know what they're doing for things to go pretty sideways.
And your just your reputation.
For sure. Yeah, exactly. So, the people you refer, reflect back on you as well, right? If I, refer someone and there's a problem, I sort of take that personally. So, I'm careful about who I refer for certain things. But yeah, I think in any business, it's very important to have, good connections and people that you trust, people that you're going to do a good job. And at the end of the day, take care of your clients is the ultimate goal.
Huge. And one thing, just being frank, as I've met with hundreds of top agents here in DFW, one thing I consistently hear when we talk about, different businesses in DFW is I'm afraid to recommend a mover. Just the agents expressing hesitation, because exactly like you said, Brian, they view it as reflectant upon them, the job that is done. And there's been some bad experiences, and I've heard of some of the horror stories, and that's where I just am just super excited to share with them again about these RP vetted businesses who, hey, that top checkbox, who they've been vetted by to be a part of this group has been the fellow top agents like yourself, Brian. And one of those, of course, that we are happy to have a part of the community is Tyler. And so I want to turn it to you here, Tyler. What has led to your success? What makes you different from other movers out there? I mean, obviously you are a part of this community. You have been recommended by some of the best in the industry. So why are they working with you? What has set you apart?
I think we've always been accountable. When I bought a bunch of leads, 2012, 2015, and I vowed that I never wanted to buy a lead again in 2015. And I actually took a dip in my money, because I was used to bidding on so many jobs and getting, but I don't want to do this forever. I was like, this is not the way I want to live the rest of my life, staring at my phone 100 hours a day. So I said I needed to build a brand, something that somebody would come to, and they would come to me. And it took me a good 2 or 3 years of effort. And so I just started marketing towards a real estate agent, and that was in 2015. And now we're going on the end of 2021. And I'm proud to say that a lot of people do know who we are in Dallas, Fort Worth. A lot of top producers, a lot of people that do millions and hundreds of millions and even billions of dollars in real estate recommend us to move their houses, to move their clients, to move their daughters, to move their lake houses, move their ski houses, we move all of their houses, move their offices,
right?
We move their artwork, and it's neat. Because I always tell them, and I used to give a lot of presentations, and we're going to get back into it in the off season because it gets slower. Not me per se, but maybe my guys, I'll be there maybe if I can. But I would always tell them, if something goes wrong, say you guys, and I know it's hesitant. So when I first started, I would say, use me first. Use me on, let me move a box at your house. When I was very first starting, I just had one truck. And I said, let me come move you. And if you like us, then you feel comfortable. Because I said, I get it. It's your name on the line. Right. And I wouldn't want somebody to make me look bad. So anyways, I don't know. I just earned my way into, I always tell them that if something goes wrong, let me know so that I can fix it. Because if I don't know, I can't fix it. I don't know what I don't know. Right. And so then they're like, oh, okay. I said, so before you write us off, if John was smoking and you didn't like that or whatever, and your client says they were just awful, blah, 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 they broke a fork, just call me. And I'd be like, hey, I had no idea. This is what we can do. We can buy you a new fork. We can do this and that. We can give you $100. And 95% of the time, it's less than a $500 issue. And it's something I'm like, if I don't know, I can't make it right. And then they're like, oh, because nothing's ever perfect. Right. I can't guarantee perfection. I don't know that this guy isn't having a bad day or whatever, or I didn't realize that this was going on, So that's all I ever say. I'm like, hey, if something goes wrong or your client tells you, just call me. Hey, were you aware of this? No, I wasn't aware. Okay, let's see what we can do. And we mend it. And then that's all anybody can ever do, right? Like, I mean, I don't believe there's such a thing as perfection, especially when you're dealing with something like moving. They're movers. I try to wrangle them in, keep them in uniform, keep them trained, but they're movers. I don't know about you, but when you load a truck, it's 10,000 pounds. And when you unload a truck, it's 10,000 pounds. So if you do that a couple times a day, I don't know, what's that, 10, 20, 40,000 pounds a day with a dolly and your back. If you do that 5 days a week, that's 200,000 pounds. So in a month's time, you've unloaded and loaded 800,000 pounds of furniture with the dolly. So that $1,000 a week doesn't seem like so much anymore. And a lot of people aren't willing to do that. You know what I mean? So you're not going to get a lot of times the college educated guy. So, I have to wrangle these guys in, and I like to tell people, I don't know what I don't know. So that's pretty much a lot of my success is just communication. I tell people to tell me what's going on and I just fix it. I hired an in-house guy recently. He fixes all of our trucks. He's a family friend. He's on the payroll, and he goes around fixing like holes in walls, scratches on floors, and table legs. Before I had to outsource that, and I had to take it to third party. And now we just fix him in-house.
Right.
So he goes around, and it's like I said, 98% of the time, it's like a scratch on the floor. It's like nothing, but it's like
taking responsibility. Yeah,
that's it. That has to do with a lot of my success is just being, and even my wife and now my nephew. Why do you give people back $700? You told them it's only this and that. This is what you're accountable for. I'm like, well, I listened to them, and every situation is different, right? Now, if somebody calls me, cussing me out, I'm like, hey, calm down. That's not what happened, or blah, blah, blah. Let me hear the other side of the story. But most of the time, I fix things because I'm like, I just don't like bad reviews and unhappy people. And then I just get to keep going and going in business. And it's a training moment.
Well,
I'm not saying every time. Sometimes people are pissed off with the results because they're like, I'm like, hey, well, I told you that was going to happen if we put that on the truck. And they're like, you insisted. And so, but I don't know. Communication and accountability.
Yeah. Sorry. And I think honesty is another thing I'm hearing from here, that you're very honest. Like, hey, that is not going to work, or this is going to happen.
Yeah.
And people certainly appreciate that.
Some people are silly about it, though. They don't listen. I'm like, if I take that humongous piece of what you call it upstairs, we're probably going to bang all the walls and all the floors. Oh, it's probably fine. And then sure enough,
like, I'm a
take this thing up. And I'm like, I told you that was going to happen. Well, I need you to fix the floors. And I'm not fixing the floors. You know what I mean? I'm not spending $2,500 on your floors. I told you that was going to happen. This is only a $1,100 move. Not going to happen. And then they're pissed. I've had people. I get taken advantage of probably more than people would think. We get taken. People just don't pay. People steal from us more than so. Because I know movers get a bad rap, but I'm not a bad guy.
But I think a key part of that, again, is you set the expectation in the beginning. There's the communication, the honesty, which is huge. But also what I'm hearing is the customer service that, if you bend their fork, like you said earlier, you're going to fix it. You're going to take care of it. You take the accountability. You're not trying to take a shortcut. You're like, no, hey, here's $700.
Not for the fork. I've never had a $700 fork yet. But I mean, and most people are very appreciative. I mean, most people, but there's always a person, I'm sure in real estate, Brian, there's some people that are just, you can't make them happy. And they're like, you suck. But
we need to talk about that here because, Brian, I know that is something that you have felt has been so important in your business and your success is navigating different personalities.
Yeah, I mean, it's
a good segue what Tyler was sharing there.
And I say not just in real estate, but in any business, life is like dealing with people, no matter whether you're at the grocery store, like you just got to learn how to navigate personalities. But within the real estate transaction, like I mentioned before, there's so many different, personalities and people and everyone has, a slightly different interest, in the transaction. So trying to get everyone to, the common goal of getting the house bought or sold. But like I said, in life in general, learning how to handle people and handle situations, and it varies depending on the personality. So like, if I'm working with a a buyer or seller that's kind of a certain personality, then I know like, okay, this is probably how the transaction is going to go, versus if they're a different personality, I'm like, okay, this is probably how it's going to go. And also knowing too, like how to move with them, if that makes sense. Because, if I were to approach every situation exactly the same, it would be hard to have similar results, right? So you have to just know a little bit what you're getting into, and some of that just comes with experience, right?
I was going to say, how does someone grow in that? Because it sounds like not something you just know.
Yeah, I don't.
Maybe a rare person. It might be a bumpy road.
Yeah, I just like we talked about growing a business, and there's going to be obstacles, and we don't want to take the lumps, but those are the growth opportunities where we learn. Okay, like. If I do it this way again, I might end up with this outcome. And
true.
That's how you sort of, learn to navigate everything. But like Tyler said, there's certain personalities where I just know like they're not going to be happy. Like it doesn't matter. The 98% is good, but they're going to be like, what about the 2%? And you just, you do the best you can, and try and keep them, as happy as possible, but inevitably you can't please everyone.
Yeah.
I think that's a good word. Like going into this, you can't please everyone, because I think as well, especially with being, for some entrepreneurs, there can be dealing with some perfectionism, as I know you and I have talked about, Brian, but just, making sure you go eyes wide open and that, hey, I'm not going to be able to please everyone. But talk about doing the best you can, Brian, being a top real estate agent with those 2% that you're saying. What does doing the best you can look like in that situation? I know we've heard from Tyler, but what does that look like for you?
Well, I feel like there's a lot of overlap, communication, honesty, accountability, making it right if you do make a mistake, just having your client's best interest is, and clients can tell, like, there's unfortunately some people in this business that are probably a little more sales focused and not as service focused, and maybe don't necessarily have their client's best interest at heart. But yeah, I mean, part of me with the communication is kind of managing expectations, right? Especially in a crazy market like this, that, hey, like we're going to have to see a house in the first day or two it's on the, on the market, things are getting bid over list price. Like these are the things we're going to have to do to make your offer stand out. So the conversations that I have now are different than they were a year ago, 2 years ago, right? Because the markets change and other things change. So it's just figuring out how to, manage those expectations by
not going with
communicating through everything and saying like, this is, the good, bad, what to expect. Like, this is just, especially in this crazy market, this is the nature of what it is right now.
Yeah, not going with a one size fits all, like you were kind of saying earlier, approach, but, tailoring that expectation, your approach to the customer that you're serving or dealing with. Yeah, amazing. And I'm curious now, my mind thinking of the way the market is today, and you're saying about what are some ways to make your offer stand out. I have to ask, what are some top things that you would say, Brian?
I don't know if I want to give away.
I know, I'm not, but I know.
No, I mean, most, I'm sure, everyone else in the top 500 is doing the similar things. A huge thing in this market is appraisal waivers. We're seeing a little bit of issues with appraisals, but we've seen, kind of an uptick in cash offers, and, on a cash offer, there's not an appraisal. And, I've had some appraisals that, missed the mark this year where, I've had 5-6 offers at a certain price, and appraisal comes in way off it. And, everyone will argue about what is market value, right? Is it, what a buyer and seller is willing to pay for it in the open market? That's my definition. Other people would say, what an appraiser says. So appraisal waivers are huge. Shortening option periods for inspections, offering more money for that, increasing earnest money, kind kind of catering to the seller's timeline, right? Like if you're flexible on leasebacks and close dates, there's a lot of value in that if you can kind of give the seller the offer that they're looking for. And for me, a lot of that is sort of finding that out, right? Having a conversation with the agent before, and because you could be very flexible and you could just send an offer with a blanket close date and no lease back and say, but we're flexible, versus, if you get an offer that has almost the ideal close date and lease back because you've already sort of gotten that information from the listing agent, I think it makes it a stronger offer.
No, that's great. And in this crazy market, Tyler, I know that you were sharing with me communication from the clients, booking, I think you said 2-4 weeks before, and don't be shy to ask any questions. Or what would you say to people looking to hire a moving company in this market?
Just be upfront with what you have. I tell people, because when people tell us, like, we did one move that we booked on the phone. I didn't book the job. My office guy, Michael, my nephew, booked it, I guess, 3 weeks ago. And he said, yeah, it's a 4-bedroom house or whatever in Frisco. He said, all right, we'll do 4 guys and, in a truck, and they may need to make 2 trips. You're looking at between 7 and 10 hours. Great. So you're looking at about $1,500. Well, the move was $22,000, right? The move took 6 days. And on day 2, 3, and 4, there was as many as 12 to 15 guys working for 12 hours. We had to buy 2 trash containers, 40 foot each, to put at this dude's house. And I've never done that because he had so much stuff in his house. And I guess they traveled the world for many years, and they just bought stuff everywhere. And so they had basically 2 mansions worth of stuff in a 4,500 square foot house. And I remember I was in the office the day he called, and he said, hey, we have 4 guys scheduled, but we have a 5th guy available for an extra. It's like $45 an hour or whatever we charge, and he goes, no, I think we're good with the 4 guys. Well, come to find out, this is the largest residential move we've ever done. And he didn't want the 5th guy because he said, I think we got it covered. We got a good amount packed. And when they got over there, the guys were like, this is insane. I think every guy that worked here was on that move at some point over that week-long period.
Oh, wow.
And then, but yeah, the last day, Michael called him and he goes, hey, I know I said I was going to let you we were going to take away the trash for free, but then there were some labor hours. I need to bill you for X amount. And then the guy said, all my credit cards are tapped out. And then he hung up on him and he goes, all right, that's fair enough. He was like, cause this move was not expected to be $22,000, for a move. And, anyways, so that guy didn't tell us what he really had. He didn't say my house is filled to the ceiling with trash. I have 8 truckloads, basically 2.5, 3 18-wheelers full of furniture, and I won't be packed. You know what I mean? He just said, I got a 3,500 square foot house. It's in Frisco. It'll be mostly packed. So he was lying, about what he had, and it worked out for us. We're like, whatever. We just build for our time, and we just worked. And that happens sometimes, but people will be like, hey, I have a 1-bedroom. And so we're like, we have a questionnaire. We will email them or text them. We know the questions to ask, what's going to make things longer, like the quality of furniture, how prepared are they to move, even ask them how long they've lived there. And if it gets past what we think is a certain amount, we're like, maybe one of us should come by, or we can do a video walkthrough. But some people are always like, no, it's just a normal blah, blah, blah. And then when we go to move them, I'm like, this is a $3,000 1-bedroom apartment, same type of situation. I'm like, you weren't upfront. I'm not upset. The only time I'm upset is when they don't pay and we've been there for 2 days. And then we've used like 200 boxes, and I'm like, yo, $2,750 or whatever, but that's why I'm like, anytime we do a move that's several days, my rules, because there's a guy who ripped us off for about $6,500 this summer in Frisco. We moved him from like a 1.2 to like a $900,000 house. And at the end of the 3rd day, he just got in his Mercedes and sped off. And when my wife called him and said, hey, blah, 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 what's going on? Is there something? And then he just threw a bunch of cuss words out and got in his car and sped off. Uh-huh. And I have to sue him. But so my new rule, which I should have had years ago, is when we do large moves over many days, you get paid at the end of each day. So if somebody's going to rob me for $2,000, it's much better than $8,000. Mm-hmm. And I know the situation. But anyways, people have to tell us what they have, or else.
The more information, the better, it sounds like.
Yeah.
There's probably one of your teammates behind you there.
That's Michael. Yeah.
Hey, Michael.
This guy runs 30 guys. This guy here.
Amazing. Well, it's awesome. See him at the RP Veta Business Social.
He met you guys. Yeah. And he's the face of the brand now. He's a very good speaker. He's actually teaching me some stuff because he's a smooth operator. I got to give him his props. He grew up military. He's my wife's nephew, so he's my nephew. But awesome. He's a very good kid. He's up here at 6 a.m. every day, except Sunday. He takes off Sundays.
Maybe we should give him a Rise and Grind award too.
We just got he just got a new car. He got a 2021 Kia Stinger. He's been having his eye on it, so he went and picked it up a few days ago.
That's awesome.
2022. Cool. I'm sorry.
All right. Well, we are at the close of the show here. I want to throw it out to Lendon, who is backstage there. Lendon, any questions you have for these guys?
Not really a question. I always take notes, and I've known Tyler we've known each other for several years now, haven't we?
Yeah.
Bud.
Yeah.
You guys do an amazing job, and you and your wife both are hard workers. Here's one of the things that I want to say and just get feedback from both of you, because in listening to Brian and you, Tyler, you talked about your brand, how you set up a brand, and people, especially entrepreneurs, most of us feel like we're always chasing business. And we want business to chase us. And until we get that brand, our business will never be chased. Brian, you talked about, what made you different. And I just want to throw this out to both of you and just see what your thoughts are. When I created the difference, okay, there were several questions I wanted to ask. I wanted to know what made the difference in branding, in processes and procedures. And one of the things that I have found is that no matter what industry that we are in, it can be duplicated and replicated to that, right down to the I's and the T's, right? But the one thing that will never be duplicated is you. And that's what makes the difference. It's your sincerity. It's your authenticity. It is your passion for what you do and how you do it. And you both talked about what I call the fix-it factor, right? Something's going to go wrong sooner or later. And setting those expectations up front about what could go wrong, Tyler, like what you talked about, and then being able to inform whoever we're working with what the solution is going to be if it does.
Yeah.
I think that makes our lives so much easier. And Tyler, I'm like you, bud. There are people out there, unfortunately, that it's almost like it's a profession for them to take advantage of entrepreneurs. They figure out a way to make it look like something went wrong. It's your fault. I'm going to pay you less than maybe I owe you or you deserve. And when you're doing the right thing, sometimes it's okay to say, no, I'm not fixing that one, or I'm not giving that back, because if not, we'd all be out of business pretty quick.
You get taken advantage of. Yeah.
You really do. And people don't realize that. I mean, they look at entrepreneurs and they think, oh man, you're working, you're making all this money. They don't realize the money you don't make for the work you do.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I agree.
I just wanted to pitch that out and see what you got, especially about just the individual brand of yourself and how important that is on your commercial brand. What do you think, Brian?
Yeah, I in trying to sort of grow the brokerage a few years ago, I was running into this where 100% referral based. So it was hard, someone's worked with you, they refer you, and then, trying to incorporate, other agents, and figuring that out was difficult. And I remember a few years back, a friend of mine said, you got to remember you are your business. And I always kind of try and keep that mantra in my head, and realizing people are referring me and using me because of me. And, until I'm able to clone myself, I need to figure out how to fill in the pieces with, other people have, strengths in certain parts of it. And this, I think the struggle of any, business owner is like, how do you grow but still give the same level of service? And that answer's a little different for every person. But yeah, I mean, 100%. The
So-
as you say,
so
the
let-
difference. Sorry.
So let me ask this: when you can identify who you are to yourself, and I think that's a struggle that we all have sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Who am I for real? And once you determine who you are and your core values, I think that's where it starts. We have our core values. Is it easier then to build and replicate that? Because you talked about how to duplicate yourself or clone yourself, Brian, right? When you can identify those core values, does that not really build the process and procedures in your business that is so easy for others to see and follow? And it's easier to identify at that point who's following that within your community and who's not, who you need to get rid of and who you need to add possibly to continue replicating or cloning, what your culture is.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think, the difficult part for me has been sort of finding the right, specific people to fit those pieces. And honestly, like I haven't put much time into it recently. Things have been very busy, and we've done a couple of remodels and some other things going on. So, my focus has been other places, but I do agree with you that, finding someone who sort of has that hustle and a future rise and grind nominee. And it's hard too in real estate. It's a business that doesn't have very good boundaries, and that's not going to change. You know what I mean? Like, I'm negotiating deals at 10:30 at night on a Friday, and like especially in a market like this where it moves so fast, and you've got someone who's been looking for houses for months, and you don't want to be like lose out on the deal because you're like, well, I'll call you tomorrow or something. So, but I do agree that like I've been able to identify sort of more of what I need. Now it's just a matter of putting the time in to do that. So,
Right.
Cool. And for those of you listening, because I know we have a few minutes left, we keep saying the Rise and Grind Award, like Brian said there. The ESPYs, for those of you that have not heard that term, it is a first ever awards gala for the cream of the crop in real estate here in DFW. And so Brian is going to be there. Tyler, you're going to be there, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, Tyler does not miss out on a party.
No.
Black tie, red carpet. And
Yeah.
so those of you that are watching or listening in, if you are a top 1500, a part of Dallas Real Producers, the North DFW Real Producers community, or the Tarrant County Real Producers community, we are doing a combined event for all three, the ESPYs. And so we're super excited, and make sure to get your ticket because they are going fast. And you're going to want to meet and see Brian there, Tyler there. Lendon, you're going to be there, right?
I will.
You
Yeah.
are awesome. And
All right.
so anyway, but between now and then, Brian and Tyler, if there's someone watching or listening that wants to get in touch with you, how do they do so? Tyler, let's start with you.
Sure, of course. You can call directly to the office. It's 469-734-9000. You can just go on stonebriarmoving.com and fill out a quote request, or there's like a little chat bot that pops up, which we like a lot, and it goes to everybody in the office. So stonebriarmoving.com or 469-734-9000. Pretty much day and night, someone will be available to talk to you. So
Awesome. Brian, what about you?
phone, email, or any social media channel, Facebook, Instagram. My contact info is at the bottom. It's my last name is an easy one to spell, so just look at the
Or
spelling
pronounce.
through
I'm sorry, Brian.
Yeah. But yeah, yeah, phone, email, social media. I mean, I get contacted through all channels. So whatever works
Awesome.
for you.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for being on the show today. Amazing hearing about the entrepreneurial mindset from truly, I believe, some of the hardest workers within the Dallas Real Producers community here. Love having you both apart. Those of you watching or listening, make sure to tune in next week. Lance Dunahoe will be hosting, and he'll have some awesome, just again, some more of DFW's real estate best on the show. And so we live stream Wednesdays at 11 a.m. through YouTube and Facebook. And you'll also want to give a subscribe to Spotify or iTunes some other channels we have there. Lendon, you have us going out on a lot of different channels there, and I'm going to let you close the show sharing a little bit more about the difference.
All right. Well, thank you, Rachelle, Tyler, Brian. Pleasure to meet you, Brian. Tyler, good to see you again.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I mean, the difference was created for the small business owner. Most businesses don't struggle or fail because of a bad product or service. They struggle or fail because not enough people know who they are, what they do, and why they have a passion for doing it. And that's what we're all about at The Difference. We want to take small business owners and help them get in front of the communities that they love and serve, and show who they are is more important than what they do. So having said that, thanks for everybody for watching. We want to see you again next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. All right.
Bye, guys.
London.
Bye.
Thanks for having us.
Bye, Brian. Bye, Rachelle.